This podcast was brought to you by Dragon Shield. Use code PLAYTOWIN5 at the affiliate link down below for 5% off to help support the show.
Welcome to the Play to Win podcast, where we talk about winning in cEDH.
I'm Dylan.
And I'm Cam.
Little extra.
We are going to be talking about the best 4 and probably 5 color decks.
I think 5 color too.
In cEDH today.
We're going to be focusing on the color combinations, what each 4 color and 5 color bring to the table, as well as the best commanders from each of those color pairings.
And then we're going to rank them.
Because we love ranking shit.
And that's what we do here on the Play to Win podcast.
I think this podcast is also going to be a lot more about what each of these 4 color combinations lack more than what they gain, because most of them are going to gain a lot of the same stuff, the same powerful cards from each color.
Yeah.
But they're really more about what they don't have and why that's not so big a deal in the stronger combinations, or why it's a really big deal in the weaker combinations.
And we're going to talk about how some of these 5 color decks can take advantage of having all of the colors. So let's just get right into it.
Let's do it.
Do you have a least favorite color in Magic, Dylan?
Least favorite color? Ooh, that's so hard. So we're talking about just for cEDH, right?
We're talking just for cEDH. No, right now for this question, because it's going to determine the first color combination we talk about. For this question, it's in all of Magic.
White is my least favorite color in all of Magic. I would say outside of cEDH, I almost never play white. Maybe when I first started playing, I liked Naya creature decks, but outside of that, I have been mainly not white playing for the most part. But cEDH, that's much different. cEDH, I like playing white because white cards are really good.
They have a lot of really good tools in white. But in a lot of these other formats, it's less so about like what colors you're going to get versus like the specific cards that you have.
Yeah, I think in other formats of Magic, I just more stick to my Jund roots and things like that. I stick to more things that are, I don't know. I don't like white. I don't like going wide. It's just not my thing. But
totally fair. Well, then let's start off with Sans white decks then. So this color combination then would be green, red, black, and blue.
Okay.
So this color combination has really what used to be considered the 4 best colors in Commander, but not so much anymore.
I feel like white has been given so many tools recently, all the silence effects. Not only have we gotten more of them in Ranger Captain of Eos and things like that, but we've realized more and more how good they are, I think, in cEDH, just with the 4-player nature of the game, having access to definitely protection. Like you don't have to worry about just the one counterspell being enough. This is protection against 3 other players. So having that white is really powerful.
So now that we talked about why white's really fucking good.
That's what this color combination normally misses, I think, is it doesn't have the best protection. It's the one thing that I'm really looking for when I look for commanders in this color pairing, which is normally things like Thrasios Vial Smasher. That's the first one that comes to my mind.
Thrasios Vial Smasher is usually the first one that comes to my mind, and I think, I want to say, is having a little bit of a resurgence recently.
I have seen it doing well. It is a strong color combination for sure. I think it's just been overshadowed by Blue Farm recently.
Well, it's green Grixis, and like you can't go wrong with a Grixis base, I want to say. So any of these color combinations that are going to have black, green, red, I'm automatically going to think they're going to be one of the better color combinations
black,
here.
Black, blue, red. You said black, green, red, but
black,
I think
blue, red,
black, blue,
Whoa,
red.
Yeah.
Grixis. If we're in Grixis plus another color, that's a good color. But there's only 2 of those. Right?
Yeah, and the problem though is that green doesn't necessarily add a ton to Grixis in what you want of things. I should say
it adds one extremely powerful thing, and that's Culling Ritual. Yes, Culling Ritual, not Culling the Weak. Every time I say it, I have to double check. Because
I know, right?
It feels like all right. It should be the name of the other one.
We're gonna run out of Magic card names, so everything's gonna sound so similar.
Culling Ritual
is going to be a card they're going to have to print.
Just do this on the keyboard and it's going to be a spell soon enough. But I would say that card is the #1 pull to being in green right now. Not only does
I would say, in these kind of strategies, like a Grixis strategy,
not only are you getting rid of a ton of the stacks pieces that you want to get rid of, the Drannith Magistrate, the Collector Roof, whatever, anything like that, but you're making so much mana, you can really start your turn. You can start right after an Ad Nauseam. If you can fire this off, you have so much extra mana. The card is it really lets you go over the top.
It fuels your Underworld breaches as well. So like you're filling up your graveyard so that you can continue to get even more mana out of your graveyard if you want to. It still has a 99% win percent rate in decks that I play when I cast it. So I'm absolutely in love with that card. Green, the other 2 cards that I like for more Grixis strategies that green brings would be Veil of Summer, just as an extra piece of protection, but not really good interaction if you need to use it defensively. So it's not always the best. And then crop rotation is the only other one that I would consider. But as I'm playing less and less mana dorks in decks, crop rotation, even in these decks, seems less and less exciting to me.
Yeah, that's true. If you're not really abusing Cradle, it's not quite as good. For me, the biggest things that green brings is more multicolored cards. Things like Abrupt Decay, Assassin's Trophy,
Ooh, yeah.
Fire Covenant, the really, really good
Fire
interaction.
Covenant's already a green, black, red card.
Yeah, it's not a green card at all. I'm sorry. It's just a multicolor card.
But
that's
the first
good.
two that you said are actually, like,
Yeah.
they did... I forgot about those.
Assassin's Trophy and Abrupt Decay are great reasons to be in green. Some of the best removal, I think, in our format. 2 mana is a little bit much, but the
when they just get rid
versatility
of anything, yeah.
Yeah, the versatility and the protection is really helpful on both of those.
So you don't really think about, like, Ikra Crom at all when you think about of this color combination?
Not anymore. I love this deck for a little bit. I definitely played it and enjoyed it a lot. Right now, if I wanted to play 2 5-mana commanders, I think I would lean more towards Crom Tevish side.
I think I would agree with you there.
And even if I did want to splash that green in 4 colors with Crom, honestly, I think I'm leaning more towards the other one, the 3-mana one that comes in with encounters.
Honestly, I wasn't very aware that Rayhan was seen play with the Crown partner pairing, but taking a look at the deck, like, it actually is super cool. So I could see more of that.
Yeah, it's nice to have commanders that are just at different mana costs. Having the 3 mana opposed to a second 5 mana is a big difference, and it does do some small things that can be helpful, right?
Yeah, I have a lot of experience with Ikra in the command zone, trying to amplify the power of my life for card draw effects.
Yeah.
And I've only had negative experiences with it. So if I can do something else in my command zone, I think I'd much rather go for that.
Yeah, definitely. Besides that, you also have access to like Yidris in these colors.
That's the other deck I have listed here. Yeah.
Yidris is definitely a powerful effect. Having to pay 4 mana of different color pips, wait, and then attack is a little bit of a stinker.
That's hard.
The 4 pips is, I think, what hurts it the most. We really want to lean into things like Jewel Lotus when we're playing at the highest level of cEDH, just because cards like Jewel Lotus are so good. So this deck not having access to that as powerful kind of stinks. You just also kind of requires you to play some less than optimal cards if you don't have Yidris.
And when you find them in your hand, it really is unfortunate.
Right.
They are not good cards to have in hand. They take way too much time to actually be able to get off. And you're investing your mana early into something that might not even pay off with how quick certain games of cEDH could play.
And that can be fine with certain decks if your commander is easy to cast, but Yidris is just not easy to cast.
Yeah.
It's difficult to get those 4
if
pips
it had
reliably.
like Najeela's mana cost, I would feel completely different about it.
Until then, I think for me, I want to lean more towards Thrasios Vial Smasher in these color combinations. Crom plus the other, what's the other one's name? Rayhan, sorry. Crom plus Rayhan is also solid. I think it's just, do you prefer Crom or do you prefer Thrasios? With the Thrasios version, you get to play play a little bit more Fierce Guardianship, Deflecting Swat type effects.
A little bit more reliably. These decks are also probably playing the black one too, Deadly Rollick.
Right. Yeah. So for me, I would rather lean towards Thrasios. I just want a cheaper commander in these colors, I think, but I could totally see going the Crom version.
It's also a lot easier to break Thrasios, and like at least you could play Curiosity if you wanted to. So like at least there's a reason for Crom.
Vial Smasher.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow, we're doing great with these card names.
A+. It's the day before Christmas Eve now, so
true,
give us some slack.
It's a Saturday, so this year it's basically Christmas Eve.
Are there any other color commanders in this color combination?
No.
There's really nothing, right?
No, this is really it. Anything else I would consider less than this for ranking purposes, and we can only choose one of these to submit for the final round for our top 5.
For me, I'm submitting Thrasios Vial Smash. Where are you at?
I think I'm going to agree with you, too.
Okay.
Thrasios, did I say this? Thrasios is a lot easier to break than Crown.
You did mention.
Great. Okay, well then I won't say any more about that, and I'll bold Thrasios Vial Smasher then. What is your favorite color in Magic?
Favorite color's got to be black.
Great. I feel like we all knew that. So let's talk about Sans Black next then.
Yes, okay.
So this color combination is one that we've actually played quite a bit between you and me, each having our own Thrasios Brews explorations. But not only that, Akiri is technically another partner that you could have as well. But for all intents and purposes, these are usually the same decks. You're either playing a birthing pod strategy where you are trying to go through a Naya-based Kiki-Jiki line to win the game with Felidar Guardian and the Angel.
Karmic Guide.
Or you're playing the Dawnwaker versions, which are a little bit more grindy, trying to abuse Dockside Extortionist and win through infinite mana lines through drawing your deck with Thrasios.
Yeah, for me, I was playing more that version, the Dockside plus any one of its infinite A plus B combos you can play in the deck.
Me too.
1,000 ways to break Seedborn Muse. Now the deck gets access to the One Ring, which is very good. For me, I have been leaning a little bit away these type of strategies that have to commit a lot to the board before they can really start spiraling out of control. I just like a little bit more... I don't know. I've been leaning a little bit more away from that, I think.
I like more explosiveness
Yes.
now, right? Like with these Thrasios decks, everything that you're doing, you can see coming. Like you're playing a bunch of mana sources and passing the turn with a bunch of open mana so that you can activate Thrasios' ability on an end step to show everyone what you're drawing.
So now everyone knows what interaction you have. They know when to wait. Sometimes that can be good. That can scare the table from going for anything. And a lot of this deck all it really needs is time. So if your opponents are afraid to go for a win, that can be great. But if your opponents are just going to make you have it, the other opponents are going to know that you have the interaction. So they're just going to pass until you play all of your interaction out.
And its backup win conditions for infinite mana are arguably even easier to assemble and even more reliable than the Dockside loops. Being able to play Devoted Druid and Swift Reconfiguration means that you have a very easy way to, a lot of times at instant speed, set up infinite mana so that you can draw your deck at instant speed and then set up scenarios where your opponents can't do anything until you get to your turn, finale the table for the win, and then take it from there.
Yeah, I would say the main thing that this color combination misses is obviously black. So the best thing that black has to offer is tutors. You have those in green because a lot of your tutors targets are like green, like are creatures that the green things can find, but you miss the ability for things like demonic tutor, things like Imperial Steel, Vampiric Tutor that can get anything at all. So you're a little bit slower, I would say. You're not as easily able to find your windows because you just don't have as much control over what you're putting into your hands.
And the ones that you do have are pretty bad for a lot of times. Like Enlightened Tutor's great if you need it to be a mana crypt right away, but otherwise it doesn't really get you any of your combo pieces unless you're playing I guess it gets Swift Reconfiguration or Basalt Monolith if you're playing the Kitten lines as well. But
it gets Rhystic Study, which is also obviously very good.
I have been liking it more to get a value piece like that too, but it's still not like I'd rather have access to Demonic Tutor than Enlightened Tutor, I guess.
I know what you're saying. It's not, there are times when your Enlightened Tutor is not going to get you what you need, whereas Vampiric Tutor will always get you what you need unless you're at one life.
And I've considered cutting Mystical Tutor from that deck a lot of the time because it doesn't get you any of your combo pieces.
No, the only thing it gets you is like an early counterspell to scare the table, or maybe slowly search for Finale of Devastation
or Cryptic Command, not Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah, Cyclonic Rift is a good one too.
Otherwise, like you are really leaning into the fact that because you're in green, you're trying to play out all of the green creature tutors. So all of your Dockside enablers have to be creatures then too.
I would also say that you kind of miss out on card advantage a little bit, which it seems strange.
It's funny to say, yeah.
Right? Thrasios is insane, and if you're doing the Thrasios thing, yes, you will have card advantage. But besides that, if you can't get your mana going, if there is something that's stopping your mana dorks from tapping, or if stopping your artifacts from tapping for mana, and your Thrasios plan gets slowed down, Bruce doesn't do shit. He is not good at all, and you just don't have a lot of other. You have Rhystic Study, yes, but without access to things like Timna, without access to all the big black spells that draw you big chunks of cards at one time, it can be easy to fall behind, I think. What was the 4-color commander from the Commander product that wasn't the partners for this one?
I don't know their names, but because I don't really see a lot of cEDH play. Tyler used to play them in casual.
Oh, yeah.
They're from Theros, and it's a 2/8, and it has some kind of ability.
Let's just find out what it is.
I'm trying to, yeah.
This is, no one wants to watch us figure it out.
All right. White, blue, red, green cards with the word "and" in them.
Yeah.
Kyranos and Tiro of Miletus.
Yeah, these ones weren't really... They were never really played at all in cEDH, right?
No, but we do have another commander, though, that is in this color combination in Omnath, Locus of Creation.
And Omnath was kind of played a little bit. Omnath is good because it can be a food chain outlet. It can be an outlet for Dockside loops. It can do a lot of the things that Thrasios and Bruce can do without having to without doing the Seedborn Musey grindy stuff quite as well.
Yeah, you can lean in a little bit more into Underworld Breach lines with like intuition piles as well, and take advantage of the fact that you're in this Jeskai color pile, which a lot of the Thrasios decks don't really do. Like, they don't run Underworld Breach, which is pretty unheard of for these red decks.
Yeah.
A lot of the Thrasios decks instead run like Lightning Bolt and Red Elemental Blast, and Dockside, Deflecting Swat, and I listed every red card that they play right now.
Yeah, Omnath has the same issue as Yidris that we just talked about, that it just has one color of every pip, so that can be a little bit hard to access at times, but still can be powerful. I think I will still lean more towards Thrasios Bruise.
It's
over
funny,
this,
none of these decks in this color pile are playing Jeweled Lotus.
Yeah, none
They're
of them
all
really
pretty
can.
poopy Jeweled Lotus decks,
Yeah, I guess that's true. If your reason for not playing Omnath is because you want to play Jewel Lotus, Thrasios doesn't help you with that. You got to play a different color combination.
No, yeah, you should
entirely.
be talking about a different color combination then if you're going in that direction. But I have Thrasios Bruise over Akiri, and the only reason for that is because this color combination typically lends to being Eldritch Evolution and Neoform decks.
Yeah.
And Bruise allows you to use those cards to get you into Seedborn Muse a lot better than Akiri is at being a Tymna blocker, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Like the whole reason I think why you're playing that strategy is because you're exploiting Seedborn Muse. That's like your ad nauseum of that deck. You want to use it the best, and if you're doing that, Eldritch Evolution, your Bruised into it is another great way to find the Seedborn Muse. So I would definitely agree.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Let's put Thrasios Bruise. And again, we're leaning towards the Dawnwaker side of things.
Yeah.
We haven't really talked about why we like Pod less, but I think the whole Birthing Pod thing is just too many cards that are dead.
Yeah, it's just less dead cards overall. You get to play a more controlling route, and since you're playing blue cards, you want to be a little bit more reactive. So I think that like lends itself a little bit better into the Seedborn Muse strategy. And if you're in the Seedborn Muse strategy, I think you want to be playing more Dockside things. And I mean, they can both go both ways. I just think the non-pod line is fewer cards. So if you're able to do that, you should do it.
I think so too. The Thrasios Dawnwaker decks don't really have like good one-card win conditions for the most part, which the blue pod decks now do. But I don't think that the line itself is enough to push that aspect over the edge for blue pod to take the win here.
Yeah, I think so. It depends a lot on the color combination. We'll talk about another color combination where I think the pod line is the best line to go for a lot of the times. But for this one, I think the Dockside lines are just a little bit better.
I need to think of a new question to ask you to know which one of these color combinations to go for. Which of the rug colors, which of the teamer colors is your least... No, positive is your favorite. Which of the teamer colors is your favorite?
Probably red is the color that I play the most.
Red's the color that you play the most. So let's talk about Sans Red then.
Okay.
So this is blue, white, green, and black.
Yes, this is Atraxa. This is
Thrasios
Tymna, once the king of the format. Not so much anymore, I would say.
I think the main problem with this color combination is that it lacks the explosiveness that red brings, which is super important to kind of help you get off the ground in cEDH. A lot of what these decks are doing is really just like, it's the same thing that the Grixis green decks are doing. This is just Esper plus green, but green is not really bringing a ton to you unless you're playing Atraxa, in which case it's bringing you the food chain line all of a sudden.
Right, and food chain can be great. Having another way to win quickly with Atraxa is great. We've talked about Atraxa recently, so I'm not going to talk too much more about Atraxa.
We should talk more about Thrasios Tymna then.
I think we should talk more about Thrasios and Tymna and that lack of explosion that the red gives. It's kind of a shame because red doesn't give a ton of cards. What it gives is very singular. It gives you Dockside, it gives you Underworld Breach, and that kind of is it. Everything else, Deflecting Swat's fine. You don't need it, but it's fine. It's it's good to have. The blasts can be good, but again, they're not needed or necessary. So the main thing that you lack is that Dockside, and kind of weirdly, that makes a big deal when you're in 4 colors. Like you're already here. It's sort of like a might as well play it situation.
Yeah.
And with the Thrasios Tymna decks now, you're just a little bit always behind, it feels like. I'm not saying these decks can't be good. They can be very good, and they can definitely take down tournaments, no doubt. But against the blue farms, against the Orcish Bowmasters, you're playing Mana Dorks. You're leaning in there a little bit. So you're gonna feel a little bit of the pushback from what are the best decks in the format are doing right now.
You definitely can do well, but I agree. The odds are stacked against you a little bit more when you're playing this deck. And I think Bowmaster really is the biggest reason. A deck that looks at hands and can either go, oh, this is going to be a great Thrasios hand, or this is going to be a great Tymna hand. Like, both of those are just really weak to what Orcish Bowmaster can do. And the more things that we're looking for, like recently you talked about wanting to find other cards like Bowmaster to play. And if we're going to see like Mayhem Devil in pods more too, that's just going to be even more of a reason to wean away from green Mana Dork strategies, which are really what make like Tymna and Thrasios together so good.
This is also, we could have brought this up when we were talking about Thrasios Brews just a little while ago, is that any strategy focusing on green right now is going to be weak to Orcs Bowmaster. That can be fine. Bowmaster is just one card. It's just one of the better cards in the format right now, and I think
you're going to see a lot.
You're just going to see it a lot, so you have to have a plan on how to deal with it, and the best plan is to just kind of work around it. The spells in cEDH are oftentimes a lot better than the creatures anyway. I know we've been leaning more and more towards creatures recently because they've been printing a lot more things that do similar things to Rhystic Study,
but they haven't printed a creature that's better than Force of Will.
Right.
Though.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't felt like we're there.
There are still a ton of unfair instants and sorceries that lean away from creature strategies that are a little bit harder to interact with things like that I want to be pushing more, especially my 4-color and 5-color pods.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really love the win conditions that this color combination has.
That's Oracle Demonic Consultation.
I mean, I guess
Stinker.
I guess the non-Thoracle Demonic Consultation win cons, because all these decks we've talked about so far have access to this. That's not true. The last color combination does not have access to
Thrasios
this.
Brews, we should have talked about that too, does not have access to Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation.
Man, that makes it, that lowers it a lot in the standings.
Yeah,
then,
definitely.
But this color combination, a lot of the other win conditions outside of that, like if you're playing in Tymna Thrasios, you have access to Scepter, which we've talked about a lot being bad. Hermit Druid, which is just a combo that I think is way too all in and something I'm not very comfortable with playing a lot of the time.
Too many dead cards.
So I'm way off of that. Like, I love Food Chain personally, but like I haven't wanted to take it into a tournament yet.
Yeah.
So I think I'd just like rather be doing a lot of other different things for backup win conditions.
Underworld Breach is just a better backup win condition, truthfully. I think your best backup win condition in decks like this, for me personally, is just like Jace Wielder of Mysteries. It's just like a second Thassa's Oracle type thing. Yeah. It's Tainted Plaque and Demonic Consultation, which obviously you're already playing too, but maybe
Praetor's Grasp then too.
Praetor's Grasp to find it from somebody else or something like that. In these color combinations, I think that's probably your best plan B rather than something like the infinite mana with Isochron Scepter. It's just not quite up to par anymore.
Yeah, I think that's probably right, actually, yeah. So which one of these two decks, between Atraxa or Thrasios Tymna, which one do you think is going to take the crown for Sans Red?
It's kind of hard. I think if you look at tournament reports, you'd pretty much have to say Atraxa. Atraxa is the one that's doing something right now. Me personally, I think that's a little bit of recency bias. Every time I played Atraxa, I felt, man, if this hand was Thrasios Tymna, I could definitely keep. But because it's Atraxa, I surely can't. So for me, I'm going to choose Thrasios Tymna. I still think the deck is great. I just don't think it's gotten as many new toys, so people aren't as interested in exploring in it. And also because it hasn't gotten any new toys, it's falling a little bit. It's not quite the strongest anymore, but that doesn't mean that it's not still one of the strongest.
That's fair, because like this color combination... I'm about to say something else really stupid, but like unless you're playing Necro in a lot of these decks, which I don't know how many of these lists are playing Necro, like Born Upon the Wind is a card that Grixis decks have been taking advantage of a ton, and I don't know how much advantage like this color combination gets to take advantage of it.
I mean, if you're playing Seedborn Muse, it might be nice to just have Born Upon a Wind in your deck, so you're untapping your lands anyway. You'll have the resources, just fire out a Thassa's Oracle win or something like that. I think these decks can still play that card for sure.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I told you I was going to say something stupid.
Without Necro, you missed the... I see what you're saying, like the biggest selling point to Born Upon a Wind, but Born Upon a Wind can be very good in a lot of different situations.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just opens windows, and that's really good. So who are we giving this crown to? I don't know where we landed on
this.
For
me, Thrasios Tymna.
For you, me Thrasios Tymna. Yeah. I'm going to bold Thrasios Tymna, though, because I can understand where you're coming at from this.
Yeah.
And if we're taking a look at cEDH as a whole, Atraxa has a lot of work to do before it really stands up to the ubiquity that Thrasios Tymna has had.
Yes, yeah. Atraxa has had a good year, but Thrasios Tymna had a good, 5 years. So
that's true,
we can weigh them kind of evenly, and I think for now we can still give it to Thrasios Tymna, knowing that Atraxa is coming for that crown.
It's like... Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Tom Brady is the Thrasios Tymna.
Okay.
And Patrick Mahomes is Atraxa.
Sure, yeah. I don't know sports, but that sounds right to me.
I don't know sports either. I just see them in commercials all the time, I feel like.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to shut the fuck up about that. Heads or tails?
Heads, always.
We're going to pick Sans Green as the next color combination that we're going to talk about then. So this
is Blue Farm.
This is Blue Farm. Yeah, this is blue, white, black, and red.
This is great.
I don't want to spoil anything, but I have a hunch this one's probably going to be towards the top of our final list.
First couple reasons for me why this is the best color combination in cEDH. One, you're in Grixis, which means you're in Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation, which is the best. Plus, you get Dockside Extortionist and Underworld Breach, which is the best. That's
already
Grixis.
That package is like the best thing that you can do in cEDH, in my opinion, and it's what I'm looking for in a tournament deck that I feel comfortable bringing.
Most efficient win condition, most easy win condition to get going from nothing. That's why there's great. The reason why the addition of white is so helpful is, one, silence effects obviously are very good, like we talked about in the beginning. Making sure that your whole combo can go through can be really great, especially if you're doing Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond. It can be very all in. Knowing that your opponents are silenced or Grand Abolished can be very helpful. But not only that, Sevinne's Reclamation is like the glue that holds this whole deck together, in my opinion.
It's really because you get to combine the Jeskai piles and the Grixis piles. The aspects that make those two color combinations so good just enhance when they're put together.
Yeah, definitely. They work really well together. Sevinne's Reclamation being able to find you a win from basically any situation as long as you have, I think, 6 cards in the graveyard and a couple extra mana.
It might be 9. It might be 9, actually.
Depending on where you go from
6 to 9, you can win the game.
The Intuition finds Sevinne's Reclamation, Underworld Breach, and Lion's Eye Diamond. With the Lion's Eye Diamond and the Underworld Breach and the flashing back of the Sevinne's Reclamation, doesn't matter which your opponent's gives you, because no matter what, you'll be able to get that Underworld Breach in play. Once the breach is in play, you can get the Intuition back cast again with the Underworld Breach, finding the Brain Freeze and any other pieces you need to help go through the combo safely.
That, in addition to like being able to play all the best tutors and all of the best creatures, and like being able to leverage the 2 best card advantage commanders in the command zone in Tymna and Crom, I think that's going to easily be the best deck, spoiler alert, that we're going to talk about for this color combination.
Now, we do need to talk about some of the negatives. We talked about before Tymna being kind of a negative into Orcish Bowmaster, which is true, especially even more so in a Thrasios Tymna deck where Mana Dorks are there. In this deck, yes, the Bowmaster can stop the Tymna, but you're not playing a lot of other creatures besides that. So sure, it stops your Tymna, but the beauty about this color combination is you don't really care about your commanders. They're not necessary. Like, they're fine. They're good card advantage. Sure, if you have a window to cast them, you can, but they're not essential to your game plan whatsoever. So you can really pivot very easily into a whole bunch of different things. You're very free to make any decisions that you want, not having to worry about Drannith Magistrate. I'm like, yes, you have the Underworld Breach, but also you have Thassa's Oracle. So for everything, you have another thing, so you can not care about the wrong thing. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah, no, I think that definitely makes sense. So what you're losing out from not including green is really absolutely minimal.
Yeah.
Because the colors that you're in are doing everything that they want to do perfectly, that you don't need Mana Dorks. You have access to Dark Ritual and all of the mana rocks that you need. You don't need Creature Tutors because you have
Black Tutors.
You have the Black Tutors, right? And you have all of the card draw you could want to find a tutor or the actual win condition that you need as well. You don't need crop rotation. You don't need, like, any of the good cards that we've talked about you getting in green. You don't need Seedborn Muse because you're not that kind of deck. Like, any of these good cards that we've already talked about, you're not looking for. So it really just amplifies how much green is kind of the worst color in cEDH right now.
Yeah, which is fine. One color's got to be the worst. It's not, you know what I mean? It's fine. We've gone through waves. White was definitely the worst color for a long time. There was a while where Sultai was the strongest color combination in cEDH, and adding white to that was nice. You didn't need red at all. It just wasn't good. And then they printed 2 cards, Dockside and Underworld Breach, and now red is right up there with like the best color in the format. So things can change very quickly. Green gets 1 or 2 more tools, and green can skyrocket to one of the best colors, but for right now, it's sitting at the worst color in the format.
There are a couple of other decks that are in this same color combination that I think we should give their dues to. Breya is the 4 individual pip commander from the Yidris cycle of commanders that can kind of stand up on its own a little bit here. It has the same problems as Yidris. It has the same problems as like all these other commanders that we've talked about. But at the same time, you're in a much better color combination. So you kind of feel like you're already ahead of the game in comparison to the other 4-pip commanders.
It also does allow you to win with a Dockside loop, right? That's how this card works. You're able to use, after you blink back and forth for Infinite Treasures, you can blink it back and forth and shoot your opponents, right?
That sounds right, yeah. Because Breya can sacrifice tokens to deal damage to things.
Because Breya wins with Bomberman. So yeah, Breya, one of its abilities is to shoot your opponents for 3. So if you want to win, if you want to do the same thing that you're doing with Blue Farm, but you want to win with a Dockside loop also, Breya is good for that.
Yeah, exactly. And instead of the card advantage in the command zone, which arguably you just said you don't need because it's just extra fluff, you can have a combo finish in your command zone, like you said. The other thing, there's a surprisingly large amount of Stranger Things commanders that you can play that are in this color combination too. Sicily and Safina, also known as 11, and I couldn't remember the name of the other guy from the show.
The Boris guy is Jim?
Jim, yes,
Jim,
you're right,
the Boris
it's
guy,
Jim.
Yeah, Boris guy is Jim, I think.
Yeah, so 11 and Jim is one of the pairings that you can do, or Will and Lucas is the other pairing from the Stranger Things cards that you can do.
With Will and Lucas, you get to play Luris, which is kind of nice.
That's also true, yeah.
Luris is really powerful, but a 6-mana Luris is a little bit less powerful, which is what it is when it's in your companion zone like that.
Basically, what these do is allow you to have extra different win conditions, kind of similar to what Brea brings. Sofina and Sicily do allow you to play the 1-card win condition, technically, of Time Sieve as well. With your commanders, every time you're attacking, you can make a bunch of clues that you can sacrifice to the Time Sieve to make sure that you're getting extra turns to find either a more reliable win condition or take the table out with damage.
Isn't it kind of interesting that there are several like really good options in Sans Green for cEDH, I think, that all use different 1 or 2 card win conditions, and yet better than all of them is just the card advantage engines. Like,
right?
I feel like that says something about how we should be looking at decks in cEDH. Is like the combo in the command zone is just not as powerful as advantage in the command zone. No. Like, it's just, if it were, these decks would be more popular than Blue Farm, but they're not. Blue Farm is the most popular because card advantage is what wins games, not efficient combos. So something to think about, at least for me, while I'm going forward in my deck brewing process.
I think that's very true. Yeah, I think just if you just are gonna have more cards, that's just the easiest way to determine who's going to win the game of Commander. And we're just pairing up the 2 best card advantage commanders together in this color combination. So I think it's pretty obvious we're going to have Timna Crom at the top.
Yeah, Timna Crom, definitely Sans Green, best 4-color combination in cEDH, without a doubt.
The final 4-color combination for us to talk about then is going to be Sans Blue, which is black, blue, red, green. Oh my God, I feel like I'm operating at like a 2 today, I feel like.
You're fine.
Sans Blue, which is black, green, white, red.
Yes. So this is actually, weirdly enough, this is the only one of these 4-color combinations that I'm playing now, and probably my favorite one right now. I know we've talked so much about why the other ones are so good, and there's a ton of reasons why this one is not so good. Blue is probably the best color in the format. There's a good argument that it could be black, but for me, having blue counterspells is extremely powerful. But for me, in my playstyle and how I like to play, Blood Pod is like my favorite deck in cEDH. I get to curve out, I get to do aggressive things, I get to pressure my opponents, I get to put them in weird situations, I get to win with 1 single card. Easy win condition with Birthing Pod is great. I talked about in other decks why I thought the Dockside 2-card combo was better. In this particular list, without access to blue, with access to black, I have so many ways to tutor just the 1 card that I need, and finding that window is so easy with this deck because I can stop my opponents so often. So for me, this is like one of my favorite decks ever in cEDH.
I don't want to gloss over the negatives too quick, because the other negative is that you don't get access to some of the best card advantage engines that all the other 4-color piles get, which is like Rhystic Study, Mystic Remora, and a bunch of the other creatures that you get to play now too. So
yeah, there's definitely a lot that you're missing in this color combination, without a doubt. The blue things, like you said, definitely you're weak to Orcish Bowmaster. That's true. Like, you do lean into the Mana Dorks, and you are weak to the Bowmaster.
But that being said, I'm sorry to interrupt.
You also get to play the Bowmaster, which is nice, and you get to play a lot of things that are like Bowmaster that pile on. I've been playing things like Shieldred and Mayhem Devil to really stack up damage against my opponents and put real pressure on them. But there are, like, you're 100% right, there are big issues with this deck.
But I do think that your deck leverages, like Blood Pod in general, leverages Timna a lot better than a lot of the other decks that we're talking about that are playing Timna. Even Blue Farm, I would say, too. You just have so many creatures, and they all have such good stats. They're going to get through for damage here. So I think that it kind of outweighs some of the downsides very well.
Yeah.
You don't kind of care about not having counter spells. Your creatures are your interaction, and they do a super good job of slowing the game down to the point that you need them to when you're ready to win the game.
Yeah, definitely. In my opinion, this is the best Timna deck. Maybe not the best deck, but like you said, it's the best. It's the deck that utilizes Timna the best. Having Crom in the command zone for Timna, that's very good. But this deck can pretty consistently draw 2 or 3 cards, I think. You have so many different threats spread across the board. Tana doesn't do a lot. It doesn't really do anything to help with that Timna plan. Doesn't really do anything at all. It's very similar to a Bruise. The main thing that it does is I can Eldritch Evolution it into whatever monster of the week that I think is the most devastating devastating. Right now, it's Rurik Thar. In the past, it's been Sire
Yo,
of
it's
Insanity.
Rurik Thar now?
We're stacking up damage.
Oh, that's sweet.
Shieldred, Mayhem Devil, Rurik Thar. Everyone's taking damage.
Damn, Dylan. I can't wait. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so there's an ability to do a lot of cool things, and the Kiki combo in this deck is awesome. You have several ways to find it between Survival of the Fittest, Vivian, Birthing Pod. You can make the win come out of nowhere. It's a great deck. Definitely, I like it a lot, but lacking the blue counter spells is big.
I would like to touch on the turbo aspect of these colors as well. Timnatana Turbo is also something that you can totally do. You're in really good colors to go fast and to try to win with like a quick 2-card win con that you can piece together with, like, I don't know, Witherbloom and Chain of Smog or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. You get access to Dockside and Culling Ritual, and you get access to, that's the two right there is like the best
really
man
what
in the
it
format.
is. Yeah.
So yeah, this can definitely be a very fast turbo deck. You lose access to Tymna being as good because you don't have as much time with Tymna. That doesn't really matter though. If you're winning the game, who fucking cares?
Yeah, you're really just trying to go as fast as possible with that deck normally.
Yeah.
I do still think that Blood Pod is the better version, but either way, Timnatana is taking the top spot for this.
For all four.
For Sans Blue,
Oh,
I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's definitely Timnatana. What are even the other options?
The 4-pip one is one that I've never seen in cEDH, or to be frank, I might have even only come across in casual once.
It doubles damage to other players or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's not good. Let's move on from that.
Yeah,
Pooper.
all right. So those are all of the 4-color combinations. Do you want to touch on 5-color real quick while we're here, too?
Might as well. There's really not much to say besides that we haven't already said, I feel like.
Yeah, the only problem with 5-color is that you have to figure out what you aren't going to play because you can't play 120 cards in your deck.
Yeah, and your mana can be a little bit tricky. Yes, we have fetches and duels and a lot of 5-color lands, but you have to be a little more conscious when you're fetching your lands a lot of the times. You have to know what you're getting. You have to think about it a little bit more. And the 4-color and 3-color decks, you just don't have to think about that quite as much.
No, especially because you said all the reasons why, yeah. So some of the best 5-color decks. There's a lot of 5-color commanders out there, but I only want to touch on what we could consider for being the best in cEDH right now. Sisay is the first one that I think of. It's just been doing incredibly well in tournaments recently.
Yeah, and Tyvar is recently found to be very good in Sisay, as the podcast comments from a couple weeks ago from when you're watching this has indicated to us. We forgot to mention that Tyvar is good in Sisay.
We forgot to mention a lot in that podcast.
Hoarding Broodlord was another one.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Shieldred.
Yeah, Sisay is very, very good.
Yeah.
Wait, did we forget Shieldred too?
We didn't talk about Shieldred at all in the 2023 podcast either. Yeah, it definitely should have gone in the episode for the 99.
Yeah. That's so funny. Either way, Sisay is great right now in the format. The other two I would say you're probably about to say is Kenrith and Nigila.
I would say they're up there too with the other top ones. Yeah. I put First Sliver as like kind of an honorable mention here, and I would say Jensen Luris as kind of another honorable mention.
Yeah, definitely. Jensen Luris gains the ability of being able to play Bring to Light, I think the best out of all of these, which just means you get a second copy of Ad Nauseam, which is
super
nice.
Cool. And you get Luris as a companion, which is also another cool upside.
Yeah, you can buy back that Underworld Breach, which is very helpful. For me, I think I want my commander to either do a little bit more or draw cards, and this one doesn't do either of those.
I think so as well, yeah.
Sisay does a lot more. Kenrith draws cards. Nigila, I think, is a little bit more sleek.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And First Sliver Food Chain.
Stinker.
Yeah, that's just a deck that we've talked a lot about being very disappointing at all times. Doesn't make good use of Mana Crypt and Soul Ring, which is really upsetting.
Yeah, I think if you want to do lots of colors Food Chain, I think you go with Traxa. And then I think if you want to do really good Food Chain, you do Sultai and you do Ukuma.
Like Ukuma and Kazur,
You go that way. I think to me, those are the two options. There's not a reason to go.
I would go Rocco
Rocco's
too.
fine
that's
too, yeah.
pretty good,
Rocco's
but I
fine
like
too.
blue and black and Food Chain.
You want your commander to like at least be able to do something rather than just be an outlet. You know what I mean? Like you want it to have the option of doing something.
Yeah, I've been getting bummed out on commanders that aren't doing anything in the command zone and like just only relying on my 99. I know that the 99 is more important than my command zone, but sometimes I'm going to mull the 5. I'm going to flounder around because someone played Aven Mind Sensor really early and I couldn't do what I wanted to do. And I need my commander to generate advantage. And if it's not going to do that, I'm just going to be sitting there on my phone because I'm losing the game.
Yeah, you fall behind really quick.
Yeah, you really can. So, all right, Kenrith, Nigila, Sisay.
For me, I honestly think it's Sisay right now. I think It's hard to say. I feel like this is the same thing with the Atraxa Thrasios Tymna, where Atraxa is new. And I feel like although Sisay isn't as new as Atraxa, it does have the recency thing of it's gotten more things recently. And Najeela has tried and true and proven for a long time.
I think if we're trying to stay on par with how we've been doing the rest of it, I don't think Sisay could compare with Kenrith or Najeela to stack up in terms of its legacy.
Right. Yeah, I think it's still a work in progress. It's still growing, and Najeela and Kenrith are pretty locked in. I would say Najeela's better. 3 is better than 5, and Najeela is just quicker. So that's me personally, but I understand the strength of Kenrith too.
No, I think I would have to agree with you too, because I think that there is just an overbearing, omnipresent threat of Najeela in the format, like at all times. And even when we talk about Najeela being bad, it's still really good. And it's only proving that more and more as it continues to top 4 and win tournaments over and over again.
Even through Orcish Bowmaster, it doesn't care. It's very flexible. It can use all the tutors really well. It can very easily find Thassa's Oracle, even more so than Kenrith, I think, because you play more low-to-the-ground creatures and more low-to-the-ground tutors to sack those creatures to find shit.
And it's getting new good cards for it, too. Like, Samut was an awesome new addition for this deck this year, so it's definitely not getting left behind.
Yeah, definitely not.
So now we got the big project of the podcast here. We have to rank Thrasios Vile Smasher, Thrasios Tymna, Tymna Crom, Tymna Tana, Thrasios Bruise, and Najeela.
Oof, yeah, okay. So do you want to go through your rating, or do you want me to just fire through?
Oh, we got to do this together. This is because we're coming up with the play to win rating.
What's
here.
the best one?
The best one I think is Tymna Crom.
I think the best one is Tymna Crom. Yeah, you don't need green, and Blue Farm is a little bit more efficient than Najeela. But I think Najeela is probably second.
You think that 5-color Najeela would be second?
Second, yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that going towards the bottom of the list here, what do we think is the bottom of the list?
For me, it's Sans Black. It's Thrasios Bruise.
You're thinking it's Thrasios Bruise?
I think so.
In terms of overall, like how good these decks have actually performed, I'm actually thinking it's Sans White.
Interesting.
And Thrasios Vile Smasher. I think that deck, even though it's resurging a little bit less, like Thrasios Bruise is like super high up on the overall performance ratings on EDH Top 16.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. We can put Sans White at the bottom with the note of it's probably going to be much different in a year from now.
Yeah, that's true. And depending on what other tools we keep seeing get printed for it and how the meta might change over time.
If green gets more tools, I would imagine that Sans White would get to use those tools better than Sans Black, if that makes sense.
It probably depends on the tools that it's getting, yeah. Like cards like Legolas's Quick Reflexes. That I didn't say that sentence at all correctly.
Legolas's Quick Reflexes.
That's a Dr. Seuss sentence if I've ever read one. Like that card is like a great green tool that doesn't really help this deck or what these decks are really trying to do so much.
But probably helps the Thrasios deck a little bit more. I'm not even sure if you would need it there. Either way, I agree with you that Sans White is the worst of these.
All right, so we'll say I'll put some asterisks next to that though. So then that means that the last one left is Sans Red. So that means that Thrasios Tymna is better than Thrasios Bruise and Thrasios Vile Smasher?
I guess so. And then is Sans Blue above that?
Oh, shoot, there's 6. Yeah, where do we put Tymna Tana?
I think for me, I think Sans Blue is better than Sans Red right now just because Dockside is really fucking good. The stats might not show that. That might be my biased opinion because I like the play style of Sans Blue better.
If we continue to go with ubiquity, both of them have a very widespread history in cEDH, but I don't think anything would compare to Tymna Thrasios. So if we needed to use that as a tiebreaker, I guess that's something we could do. I don't think either are particularly amazing in the format right now, but I do think right now Blood Pod's better. And I think what you said with you personally playing it, I think that's going to help make it outweigh Thrasios Tymna.
So we are going to put it higher, even though the other one's got more history.
Yeah, okay. I think we're going to put Tymna Tana above it because it's our fucking list.
Hell yeah, I love that.
And I haven't had a lot of luck with Thrasios Tymna recently, so I'm on board with this. So we have a list.
Should we start from the bottom or the top?
Let's start from the bottom.
Give it to us.
So our least best 4 or 5 color combination is Sans White, featuring Thrasios Vile Smasher. I don't know if we need to clap for that one. It didn't even make top 5.
Okay, fair.
I don't know why I gave you so much shit about it, but next, our 5th best color combination is Sans Black in Thrasios Brews. I don't want to feel like I've scared you from clapping. You're more than welcome to clap.
Never clapping again now.
Fuck, I ruined the whole feel of the podcast now. In our 4th place spot, we have Sans Red featuring Thrasios Timna. In our 3rd place spot, we have Sans Blue featuring Timna Tana. In our 2nd place spot, we have 5 Color featuring Najila. That feels weird to say. And then in our number 1 spot, we have Sans Green featuring Timna Kram.
Great list. Well done.
You do like this list?
I think it's great, yeah.
I think it's a little weird to say 5 Color is worse than Blue Farm, but objectively, I think Timna Kram's the best deck in the format, so...
Green offers you less than what Timna Kram provides.
Yeah.
Advantage is better than combo in the command zone.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because Najila provides no advantage in the command zone, so... Yeah. Wow, what another great list we have.
Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you'd like to support us directly, you can do so on Patreon, like our $100 patrons.
Devlin, Mark Cirillo, Alan but in lowercase, Zachary Nelson, she doesn't even go here, Stokal Acura, Stormageddon, Luke Cook, AJ Awasabi, Demon of Raspberries, Uncle Butts, Kawaja A. Hamid, Lauren Connell, and Baby G-Bus.
If you want to pick up any of our merch, you can do that at playtowinmtg.com.
Thank you so much, Dragon Shield, for supporting the show. If you want to help support the show, make sure you use our affiliate link down below and use code PlayToWin5 for 5% off your order.
If you want to follow us on social media, you can do that at TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thank you so much for watching.
See you next time.
Alex Musselman, Tyler H., Tyler the Tree, Malcraft, Driving Crooner, Jabaha, Dalton Poteet, Kadanis, Lutri's Dad, Mitchell Shepard, Justin, Man Solo, Pedro, Jacob Depp, Michael Ballou, Jan Wildfang, Thomas Bueno, and David Nelson.
This is how I'll talk when I talk. It'll be around like this, and I'll try to talk like this. I'm going to try to work on leaning more towards the camera and less like this. Do a little bit of both, you know what I mean? But I want to be a little bit more square.
Hit both.
Hit both.
Talk to the people.
Hit both, Chan.
Hit both, Chan. Is that a new Pokemon?
It's the 4th one of those 3. Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, Hitmontop, Hitmonchan.